Hey guys, we're early. It's weird, right?
All right,
Just tuning.
what's going on, everybody? Jacob, Donovan, Miami Dolphins Syndicate. Different time than usual, but I got a third podcast of the day after we're done here. So got to do things a little differently today. It's so weird. Before I even ask Donovan how you're doing, because I don't even know if I really care. But it's so weird being on three podcasts in one freaking day. Like I got my I do FAU Owl's Nest, which go out and check out that podcast. The preview for the USF game should be live in 20 minutes. So after you're done listening to us, go over there, check that out. Do a preview for the USF game for FAU. Do this Dolphins podcast, and today I'm going to be on a USF podcast right after this, talking about FAU. So it's just a lot of talking for me today. Donovan, how was your day?
My day very long. As you know, we reside in South Florida, so when your AC ain't kicking in your car
Mm.
and you work out of your car pretty much for a living, yeah, it ain't fun. But other than that, I am now home in the nice AC, even though this room will probably get unbearably
Oh,
hot in like 15, 20 minutes. I do have my AC turned down to 67, so that's a good thing.
it's a solid 8 degrees cooler than my house is. I mean, I sent you a picture last week. If y'all were watching the stream, I kept complaining about how hot it was. Today we have the fan on level 2. So like, hopefully it's not something you guys can hear in the background. If it is, oh well. There was literal like sweat marks of my thighs on this chair when we got done last week. Like it was out of camera shot for y'all, but Donovan got to see. I took my shorts off last week.
Oh,
Gave him a beautiful view. Did you enjoy that?
yo, what's up, Rodolfo?
Hey, he came in early. What's up, peoples?
Hey, I mean, hey, we're early, so
Yeah,
like,
that's what I meant. Like
it's
people are actually
weird.
showing up when we're early. Look, like usually we're 15 minutes late. Today we're technically 25 minutes early, even though we were planning to
It,
go live at 6:30. So technically we're 5 minutes late. It is what it is. I had a
it
great
is what
time
it
at the
is.
game last week. It was my first game this year. So remember Donovan how we were talking about that the pre-game experience thing in like the garages?
Mm-hmm.
Well, my stepdad, isn't going to the game this week, and he paid for that for him and my mom, so I'm going to get to go to it. I didn't tell you this beforehand because I wanted to see your reaction.
Yo, yo,
Yeah,
that's lit. So I can go. I can go. I can go.
I have no idea how it works. I have no idea if it's amount
Bro,
of people. I
do
don't.
you
I'll ask. I'll ask.
do you understand how much that costs?
No, I don't.
Bro, I looked it up after the game. I thought I sent it to you. It is 15 to
Okay,
20,000 per
then
game.
that's not the one he got. Then maybe it was something else. I'm pretty sure he said it was in the garages, but it was definitely not that much money. I forget how much like they said. He said a figure that he spent, but it was definitely not that much money. I'll ask if you can come, because I mean, hey, it's gonna be food, it's gonna be AC. You know, I'm excited. I'm excited.
So that'd be great.
Yeah,
That'd be great.
get us in the AC. I'm not gonna have to walk. Jeez. So I don't know how many of y'all regularly go to the games. I don't know how many of y'all watching have season tickets, but this year, like I'm about not as far away from the stadium as I possibly can be in terms of my parking, but so like close to the stadium, you have your black, you have your blue, you have your orange. Then across the street, across that bridge is where Donovan's parked in the yellow. If you want to come kidnap him, go to the yellow lot. That's where you can find him. I'm further. I don't even know what street that is. I park at Norwood Elementary, and I didn't get to go to
Just
the
go
Broncos game.
steal his car.
Do what?
Go steal his car.
Yeah, go ahead. It's a lease. I'm not gonna be bothered too much by it. I don't even think I have anything expensive in there. But I never parked there before, and there's people out there with like those high vis neon vests, like saying parking this way. I'm like, okay. It directs me to a neighborhood. They're just random people trying to get me to park in their parking lot or park at their house. I mean, come on, man. Like you got me. You make me turn around, go the other way, and actually find out where I was. And they're wearing like dolphin stuff. They're wearing like event staff stuff. I'm like, I thought I could trust y'all. I can't trust nobody out in these
Hey,
streets.
hey, man. The hustle is real. You gotta respect the hustle.
There's a lot of people out there hustling. A lot of people like parking. A lot of people selling shirts. Just a whole bunch. I really respect the hustle people going in there and doing their thing.
I do. I do. So you want to get into this?
Eh.
What do you want to
So
talk about first?
So we got I almost said Broncos week. Jeez. Panthers week. We knew this game was going to be a little less exciting. Just like we were hoping on Sunday that we were going to have Saquon Barkley play. Like literally, it's so weird to be hoping a player on the other team plays just to make the game more interesting. He did not play. The Panthers don't have a lot to excite, but the one player that I'm very intrigued to see. Funny enough, this is my second game watching the Dolphins this year, and this is my second game watching the Panthers this year because when the Dolphins were playing the Broncos,
Oh, that's right.
I was over in Seattle watching the Seahawks play the Panthers, but this is the first time that I'm getting to watch Bryce Young. So before we break down how Bryce Young has played so far this year, what's your opinion on Bryce Young, how he's played so far, and then how you think he's going to end up as a quarterback?
So I did, as I typically do, I watched a few of their games on NFL Plus, and he hasn't looked necessarily bad, but he looks like a rookie. Like it's just as plain and simple as that. He's not processing as fast as he was in college. Obviously, defenses are a lot different in the NFL. Um, you know, the ball placement is still there. He's still very accurate. Still has decent mobility, even with that. Was it an ankle injury that he had?
Something like that.
Yeah. So he's not playing bad, but he's not necessarily playing good either. And behind that terrible offensive line and lack of a run game, there's not really too much more you can ask from him. So yeah, it is what it is with him, kind of thing. Like you don't know what he's gonna be until he actually is it.
Yeah, with especially guys that are more known as pocket passers. Now, the way of the true pocket passer is completely gone. Like even guys Tua, Bryce Young have some mobility to them, but they are known for being the point guards who sit back there and get the ball to their offense. Anthony Richardson is going to have a much easier time, even though he keeps getting beat up. He's going to have a much easier time. Justin Fields is going to have a much easier time. Lamar Jackson is going to have a much easier time those first few years in the NFL because while they can't read defenses that well, while maybe they don't have the skill position players to get the ball to quite yet, they have the ability to make plays on their own and ride that out until the rest develops. Jalen Hurts, like he was, bottom 5 in terms of completion percentage, had a bunch of turnovers, and then just started running around until he figured out how to pass the ball. He eventually got A.J. Brown, got Devonta Smith, Dallas Goedert emerged over Zach Ertz as Zach Ertz departed, and now they have a solid offense around him, and he can sit back there in the pocket and deliver the ball while still having that full assortment of being able to run the ball. You don't get that with Bryce Young. So Bryce Young, it's eventually you believe in Bryce Young. I believe that Bryce Young is eventually going to come around. I mean, you look at his stats right now, 64% completion percentage for a rookie, not bad at all. 750 yards, 5.2 yards of completion, 5 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, 12 sacks. With that last part there, it tells me the 5 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, 12 sacks is the offensive line in front of him isn't that good. And I mean, you don't have to be a pro NFL scout to be able to tell that offensive line is not good. And then B, the receivers he's throwing to is not that good either. Adam Thielen's having a fantastic season, better than anybody expected him to. Almost 400 yards, 3 touchdowns. But then you go to DJ Chark at 170. You go to Terrence Marshall at 114. So he doesn't have the supporting cast around him, but I still do very much believe in him. If he eventually gets that, he can be a top caliber quarterback in this league.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, it's basically almost Tua and Mac Jones situation. I know, funny enough, I said that. I know you want to get to that in a little bit, but
no, we're right here. We're in it.
Yes, sir. But yeah, it's kind of like their situations. Like if you think about it, Tua was heavily criticized. Like he can't be an NFL quarterback. Blah 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 blah. And he needs all these weapons. He needs a defense. Yada yada. And then you go to Mac Jones, and he gets carried by their defense into the playoffs his first year, makes it to a Pro Bowl, and then after that, it's just complete and utter garbage from him since. And now everybody's calling for his head, Bill Belichick's head, saying start Zappy over him. And I don't necessarily think Zappy's going to be any better. I think he's pretty much like a carbon copy of him. Literally, they even look like brothers.
Might as well be.
Yeah. So it's not necessarily that. I mean, he's basically dealing with what Tua had in his rookie year, which we know wasn't that good. Like literally Devontae Parker, who's now older and more hurt than he was in 2019 or 2020. Mike Gesicki, who is not doing anything for that offense at
Sucks.
all because they're trying to have him block, which he's not a blocking tight end. He's basically a poor man's Darren Waller.
Very poor man's.
Very poor man's. I mean, bro, how many times did Darren Waller line up in the slot or outside last year, or not last year, last game, like against the Dolphins? I was literally like, bro, why are they not lining him up, having him chip and then go? Like he was literally lining up against corners the entire time, like he was a receiver.
Yeah, it was working.
Like
but
that was
if you
insane.
put Darren Waller on the Panthers, outside of I guess how Adam Thielen's playing, he probably is their best receiving option. And like if you look in the backfield behind Bryce Young, he's not getting anything from his running backs. Miles Sanders 190 yards, 1 touchdown. Chuba Hubbard 154, no touchdowns, 1 singular rushing touchdown all year long. That actually came when I was watching the Carolina Panthers play the Seattle Seahawks over in Seattle. So I like Bryce Young. I think he is again capable of being a good quarterback. So I guess that does pose the question: do you see him as more Mac Jones, or do you see him more as Tua?
So I'm gonna give a very political answer, and it's going to be: look, right now he's closer to Mac Jones than he is Tua. However, I think with his skill set, the slight more mobility that he has than Tua, he still has the accuracy very close to Tua. He could potentially be as good, if not better, than Tua, and that's coming from the Dolphins fan. That's coming from Tua country over here. I love Tua. I'll
We do.
praise him to the best of my ability. But yeah, I think Bryce Young, his game is very, very similar to Tua, with a slightly bigger arm, slightly more mobility, not as accurate but very close in accuracy, like Tua. You know how they say like, Tua can hit the keyhole, well he can hit the doorknob.
Yeah, I agree with the assessment that I would compare him more to Tua. Now, definitely the first thing that comes to mind is stature. Him and Bryce Young, it's a competition to the bottom as to who's the smallest quarterback in the NFL. But when you look at both height and weight, he is the smallest quarterback in the NFL. But more than just the football sense, you can get a real sense of whether someone's going to last in the NFL when they're struggling, as to how their team treats them, how the coaching staff looks at them, how the players look at them. I don't know the system to which captains are voted for in Carolina, but as a rookie quarterback, he was voted as one of the captains. He's from things I've heard that he's been a good leader in that locker room, that he's been acclimated as one of the guys, whereas we keep hearing a new story every single week about how Mac Jones gave a cheap shot to this guy, and how now the offensive line is like getting after him, like, hey, like we're the ones that are trying to protect you and taking a beating every single play. So Mac Jones isn't having any favor in that locker room or in the NFL, in the coaching staff. Bryce Young has that. He, as far as I can tell, he's a likable guy. He shows up to work, and he's doing the best that he can. He has a lot of excuses right now, and they're fair excuses. They're excuses that are allowed. It also helps him that he's not playing for the New York Giants. He's not playing for the 49ers. He's not playing for the Cowboys. He's playing for the Carolina Panthers. This is a team that now they do have a very aggressive owner, and an owner that is serious about winning. However, the fans aren't going to be there's going to be no Tuanon. There's going to be no Bryce Anon when it comes to, is Bryce Young the guy, is he or is he not? There's no pressure on him today to be the guy. It's a division that has historically been very bad, that there's no clear-cut team right now that you believe in. None of those 4 teams are probably getting out of the first round of the playoffs, because one of them has to get there. So he has the time to sit back and develop, let the team build a proper team around him, and eventually come forward as the guy. Now, for this week, he's not going to be the guy. I don't think he's going to have a good time. I do expect their rushing attack to maybe have a little better game. Miles Sanders has been dealing with the injury of the last few weeks, and he's going to be more healthy than he has been in recent times. But how do you think he's going to fare against this Miami Dolphins defensive front?
Miles Sanders, Chuba Hubbard, I guess they're just gonna have like an average day. Like that would be my guess. There was no Saquon, but there were still holes being opened against our defensive line with their terrible offensive line of the Giants. So it's kind of like, I haven't really seen that much improvement. Now, I did see improvement from the linebackers actually being able to get to the holes. Tackling still kind of suspect, so we'll see in that regard. But I think it's going to be a very average day for their running backs. I think they're going to probably have 100 total rushing between the two, probably 75 from Sanders. Maybe even a touchdown if they run it all the way down there, but we'll see. With this defense, until I see something so dominant that it can't be unseen, I'm just gonna go with what my gut's telling me and what my eyes are telling me.
Okay, so now to the question I asked: how's Bryce Young gonna look against this defense?
Oh, I thought you were saying
No.
the running backs. You literally were talking about the running backs and then asked about. I was like, "Why are you smirking this whole time?"
Yeah,
because you also kind of froze a little bit for me.
Okay, yeah. How do you think Bryce Young? How's Bryce Young gonna look against our defense?
Average. The same thing as the running backs. I think he's going to look average. I mean, I think he's going to make some plays because once again, this defense has holes sometimes, and they'll have some broken coverages. There's going to be some areas in zone that they're able to get to. Do I think that they're going to just go out there and light it up against us like the Bills did? Absolutely not. I think they have an average offense, and that's exactly what it's going to look like with a terrible offensive line. I do expect him to get sacked 3 or 4 times, especially with Phillips more than likely being back and Andrew Van Ginkel being unleashed by our defensive coordinator Vic Fangio. So yeah, I could definitely see him getting sacked 3 or 4 times. Other than that, having just a regular day, probably 250 passing. I don't think he's going to throw a touchdown, but we'll see.
Yeah, and one thing you talked about there a little bit was just their offense in general. And last week with the New York Giants, we broke down the team and figured out that, oh dear Lord, the New York Giants are really bad at football. So what we're going to do today is do the same exact thing. This is a winless team. The Giants had won at least one game up to that point. It's still only won one game. And take a look at the bigger picture, the more advanced stats of what we're seeing from the Carolina Panthers this year. So I'll just tell you off the rip, the defense was, I'm actually surprised how good some of these defensive statistics were for the Panthers. But we'll start with the bad. The 30th in points, 28th in total yards, 32nd in passing yards, which again just goes to show that Bryce Young has not had a hot start to his career in the NFL, even though I think both Donovan and I got the point across that we do believe in Bryce Young to eventually produce fruit. That's not happening right now. The one bright spot is they're 9th in rushing yards. But then if you look at the touchdowns, 25th in rushing touchdowns, 31st in total touchdowns, 14th in passing touchdowns, 26th in red zone attempts. So they don't even really get there. And when they do get there, it's not much more success. 27% touchdown, or 27th in red zone touchdowns. They are 28th in first downs, 25th in third down percentage, 17th in sacks allowed. He's only been sacked 6 times. I kind of expected that to be a little more, or I guess their quarterbacks have been sacked 6 times. I thought that was going to be more, but yeah, not great metrics on the offensive side, but on the defense, it is better than what I assumed it would be. They are tied for 5th in points allowed, 11th most sacks, 7th most interceptions, 6th in passing yards. Go down. They have the 3rd best third down percentage. So there are some things to like about this team. Now, there is kind of a disguise when it comes to those stats. Like last week, what stat was it with the Giants that the Giants defense was like top 5 against the pass, but it was only because teams were up by so much that they stopped passing. So technically speaking, they were like top 5 in pass. They have these positive statistics, and then you look at total plays run against them, and they're fifth. So they have the fifth fewest plays against them, and they're an 0-5 team. So it might be another circumstance of the stats don't look or the stats look much better than the reality of the situation because they're that bad of a football team.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna agree. Greetings from South Florida. What's up, Mighty Zane? What's up, Raphael? I like that prediction, but we'll get to ours later. But yeah, that defense, I think part of it is that their offense has had a lot of turnovers. So like they're put into situations that is short field. I don't think their special teams is that good either, the Panthers. So like once again, when you're dealing with a short field, you're not going to have a lot of yards. You're not going to have a lot of that. Maybe keeping them out of the end zone is cool, but when you have 10 field goals against you, obviously I'm exaggerating. But yeah, it's not all of that. As far as the perfect season being in jeopardy, no, because we're going to beat the 49ers in the Super Bowl.
You know what? I don't know when the 49ers... No. Well, first, I don't know if the 49ers are going to lose a game this regular season. Like, come back and clip this. Go ahead. If they end up losing... Who do they even play this week? I don't think it's somebody that good. But I know in a couple weeks they played the Eagles, or in a few weeks they played the Eagles. So, like, that's a losable game. Going to Seattle is going to be difficult. We saw going to Buffalo, like, we had this hot stretch, just won by 50, and then have to go play our divisional opponent at their place. And I'll be the first to tell you, it gets freaking loud in that stadium. Like, it's worth the hype. Like, that stadium gets freaking loud. But I don't know, and I feel like every year we end up saying this about a team, but, like, I don't know if we've seen a more complete, better team than this
Browns.
49ers team this year.
They play the Browns.
So this week, okay. They're probably going to win.
And Watson's probably not playing. So even...
Yeah. Deshaun Watson's hurt.
Stuff.
But, I mean, again, the Eagles is the hardest team on their schedule. I don't remember off the top of my head if it's home or away. But, like, I think they can do it. They were my... Hey, you remember in that Chargers stream, they were my preseason pick to win the Super Bowl. I don't see them losing a game that they stay healthy in.
Yeah, I mean... I think, when they play us, they're going to lose, but...
Okay, but, like, let's say... Because just so you can remove your bias.
They're playing the Eagles on December 3rd in Philly.
December 3rd in Philly, so we're going up there too in a week's time. Assume they don't play us in the Super Bowl. Let's just say we lose in the conference or in the divisional round or whatever happens, right? In recent years, is there a team that you believed had a better chance of going undefeated than this team?
There's no team that I would have picked over them, honestly. Especially if in a perfect world they're fully healthy, blah blah blah. I mean, they've already had injuries. Brandon Ayuk's already been hurt. CMC has a lengthy injury history. Elijah Mitchell's already been hurt twice.
He doesn't even play.
He does when he's healthy, which is kind of take mostly to take the workload off of CMC. But I mean, Debo also has an injury history. Nick Bosa has an injury history. So
I think this Niners team is
stay healthy.
I think this Niners team is the best regular season team that we've seen since probably was that the 2015 Carolina Panthers when they went 15-1 and the only game they lost was on the road in division going to Atlanta. So again, those road divisional games are such easy opportunities for you to slip up. The Rams gave them a little bit of scare in Los Angeles, but it was a glorified home game for the 49ers. Like, to say the Rams were the home team was just on paper and physical location.
Anytime, like, how I complain about, like, Dolphins fans not showing up, like...
Rams fans. Well, they don't exist.
Chargers and Rams fans.
They're not real, though. Like, you saw the championship parade.
Yeah, I mean, bro, if you go to San Diego or you go to St. Louis, like that's where their fans are at.
Yeah.
Their fans aren't in LA.
No.
Maybe in 10 years when they're there long enough, but
yeah.
I know they used to be there, but whatever.
Well, also, so staying on the perfect. Hey, I know this is a little bit of a strong opinion. Donovan, you already know my opinion on this. I don't care about the undefeated team at all. Like,
my God.
I can't wait for that to get broken one day. Obviously, I would like for it to be us, but like, I don't care. Most of them are dead. My dad was 5 when it happened. I have zero emotional connection to that team whatsoever. It's kind of like up until recently, since obviously now the team's actually good. I'm 23 years old. I forgot for a second how old I was. I'm 23 years old. I've seen nothing but losing my entire life. So the 72 team in Dan Marino, all they were to me was just a reminder of what life could be. And it's like, okay, cool. That happened. Didn't get to see it. And right now, I get to watch Ryan Tannehill throw as many interceptions as he throws touchdowns. Like, that was my existence as a Dolphins fan most of my life.
So let me put it, in perspective from someone that also hasn't seen the 72 season and also hasn't seen Dan Marino play. I was born, 3 years before you? 2 years? 2 years?
Yeah.
You were born in 2000.
You may have seen a playoff game won. I was like a handful of months old. I was 10 months old.
Yeah, I don't remember it. I was too young to remember it. But anyways, it's not even just like, holding on to those memories that I don't have. It's just like,
to me it is.
I don't want a Dolphins record to be broken unless it's the Dolphins. Like that is the fandom of it. To not care about a Dolphins team just because they were before you were born, that is not true fandom, in my opinion.
There's no such thing as true fandom. Fandom is whatever you want it to be, as long as you acknowledge and you like. I am a casual Yankees fan. I couldn't name the starting lineup. Don't care. But I acknowledge I'm a casual fan. There's nothing wrong with that. As long as you're honest with yourself about where you are as a fan, there's literally no wrong. If you try to scream from the mountaintops like I'm the biggest Dolphins fan and you couldn't name us, our starting offensive line, you're not the biggest Dolphins fan. But I'm honest. Like, I'm a really big Dolphins fan. I just couldn't care less about the 72 team. Yeah, it's cool that it happened. Yeah, it's kind of nice to, it's kind of just one of those things you can just throw into an argument. Like, hey, we were undefeated. And then they immediately hit you back. Yeah, how old were you? Like negative 30, at negative 28 years old. Like, it doesn't matter to me. And also, I'm a Dolphins fan, but I'm also an NFL fan. Like, I hate the Patriots. I hate the Steelers. I hate the Cowboys. I hate the Jets a bit. I don't hate the Bills. Like, I love seeing. I mean, we've talked about, like, Josh Allen's very hard to hate. Stephon Diggs is hard to hate. Like, I have both of them in multiple fantasy leagues.
Who could have ever forgot Josh Beck, Gus Frerotte, Cleo Lemon? That's a good one. Jeez. Good old days. Cleo Lemon to Greg Camarillo.
Yay, guys! We won a game. Like, I don't want
against the Ravens. Yes. Wait. My favorite memory though was when we won that game, and then the next year the team to take us out of the playoffs was the same friggin' team that we beat the year before.
And I love how Ravens. We got the worst record that year, and we selected an offensive lineman instead of a quarterback.
You mean Matt Ryan?
I do mean
the second overall pick.
I do mean Matt Ryan.
How
life could have been different. Who knows? But also, the team's been so poorly run for so long. So
I think that was the first year of Ross's ownership too.
Would not surprise me in the slightest. Bottom line, I don't care about the 72 team. I care about the 2023 Dolphins. And the 2023 Dolphins have quite a few injuries that have stacked up, and quite a few guys that this week have been in and out of the practice rotation. We have a few guys that don't care. We're moving on.
I'm not talking about that. I'm responding to comments in our live stream.
Go ahead.
All right.
You already did.
No. Are you not caught up? Raphael was saying that we should start AVG and Ogba and bench Chubb and Phillips. So I wanted to respond to that and say, hey, no. I love Van Ginkel. And Ogba has more sacks than Chubb and Phillips combined, but Phillips has missed 3 games. So if anything, I would go AVG and Phillips because Phillips is our best pass rusher. I don't care what the metrics say. I don't care what the stats say about Andrew Van Ginkel, and you of all people, Jacob, know how much I love Andrew Van Ginkel.
I
He's
do.
not better than Phillips.
No.
Phillips is definitely better than Ogba. So yeah, if anything, AVG and Phillips. But yeah, I would not go AVG and Ogba over Chubb and Phillips. Even though Ogba has done pretty well for us this season.
Yeah, Ogba has come
as you're
in,
talking
but
about with the injuries.
no. Ogba has come in, and when he has been asked to play, which is not a lot each game, he's come in and been very serviceable as a backup option. But it's clear that we have, at minimum, 2 guys better. Chubb, it's like, it's just you roll your eyes
slow,
back.
Right? He looks slow.
I don't even know what it is anymore.
When I watch him, and I'll go through the tape again, but when I watch him, and it's like he's almost trying to bull rush every play. He doesn't try to do a swim move. He doesn't try to do a duck and go. The one time he did, he ended up getting a nasty chalk block on him, and I think he's really just scared of getting injured again. And
I don't know about that.
It's almost that's almost how he's playing, unless that's just how he's being coached up, which is so weird because on the other side you see Phillips doing all these different moves, spin moves, just absolutely destroying his tackle on the other side. Van Ginkel, same thing. But when you look at Chubb, he's almost hands in the middle of the chest, just trying to push the guy back and just power through him. And it doesn't work that all the time like that. So
yeah, and when you pay that guy that much money, when you give up a first round pick plus, even though who was the running back we had last year that we traded?
Chase Edmonds.
Oh, jeez, dear God, he was terrible. When you give up all of that, a first round pick, you give up all that money. And this year so far, 1 sack, which is it's less than Jerome Baker, and we've had plenty of bad things to say about Jerome Baker over the years. Andrew Van Ginkel is leading the team in sacks, so like you can't really argue against that. Like Zach Zealers were after him. Would you say Zach Zealers been having a better season than Christian Wilkins?
Yes.
I mean,
that's not even a question to me.
He's got more tackles. He's got more sacks. I don't have pressure.
Christian Wilkins has been very quiet this year, and definitely not on the field. With yappy yappy. But have you seen the mic'd up thing with Zach Sealer? He's like 90.
He's gonna yell at you.
Yelling.
Ref! Hey! Settle down. Settle down.
I love him, but he's been quiet this year.
1 tackle for loss.
He hasn't really gotten in the backfield too much. Dante Culpepper, oh my god.
Oh dear Lord.
Let's not go back to that.
This is why I don't like the 72 team. Dante Culpepper, Cleo Lemon, Ryan Tannehill, Chad Pennington was like the best quarterback. Technically maybe Ryan Tannehill's better, but you get like those guys are why it's their fault. The reason why I don't like the 72 team. If we had success throughout the early 2000s and the mid 2010s, when I was growing up as a kid watching the team play, and I actually had something to be happy about, then maybe I'd be happy to reminisce on the good old days, undefeated season, winning a Super Bowl. If I had another Super Bowl or even a playoff win, maybe I'd care about the 72 team. I have too much pride.
Imagine having 2 Hall of Fame players on defense and you still can't win a playoff game.
It's been a while.
Oh man!
But like I was saying before, I was so I care a lot more about the 2023 team than I do the 1972 team or 1973 or 1974, so on and so forth. In this 2023 team, as things stand, we've got quite a few guys on the injury report this week. Now, we have a few guys here that are just, vet rests. That's Xavier Howard, Tyreek Hill, Raheem Mostert, and for good reason. Tyreek Hill's been our best player. Raheem Mostert is our last starting running back available since Achane and Mostert were both technically starting last week. And then Xavier Howard, I mean, he's resting, but dear Lord, please play better. It's been a while since I've seen him have a very good game. Alec Ingold has a foot injury. He did not practice, and we saw it at the game and commented a few times. Chris Brooks was coming in as a de facto fullback / blocking tight end. He's short, but he's got a pretty big upper body. So if needed, he can come up and kind of play that Alec Ingold role, kind of play fullback. Connor Williams, still on the injury report, groin injury, did not practice today. Braxton Berrios, knee injury, limited. The rest of these guys were limited. Braxton Berrios, Robert Jones, limited. Nick Needham, Achilles, which he previously had, limited. Jalen Phillips with that oblique. I'm not sure when he comes back. Maybe he comes back this week, maybe not. We'll see. And then Jeff Wilson got his first practice today. The ribs and finger injury was limited. They opened up that 21-day window. So obviously Jeff Wilson is somebody that we'll talk about. But is there any other name on that list that you're very interested to see how the week plays out and what they're going to look like on Sunday?
I'm really interested in Nick Needham. Like that has to be my top priority there. I don't think he ends up coming back this week. I think with the 21-day window, he has to come back next week or he's out for the season. But I'm curious to see how he progresses through this week. Alec Ingold, kind of another one, because he said that he'll be ready to go for Sunday, but we've seen all that talk from players before, and it just doesn't happen. Toronto Armstead said he was going to play week 1, and they've been holding them out to protect themselves. I think that's kind of where they were at with Achane as well when they put him on IR. It was like, look, it's probably a 2 to 3 week injury, but we're going to put you on IR. You're going to miss 4 games. Then we get the bye week. That's 5 weeks. You'll be able to come back at full strength for a strong playoff push. And that's kind of thinking where they're at with that. They are approaching the max amount of players that they can take off of IR, by the way.
I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah, you can only take off 8 players off of IR
Lord.
per year.
Oh my gosh.
So Nick Needham technically on PUP, so that does not count. But you have Rob Jones, Jeff Wilson, Nick Needham, or not Nick, Jalen Ramsey, Devon Achane, who else? Who else did we just activate? We activated a lot of people. And then we have, we plan on activating a couple more. So we quickly approaching, Toronto Armstead, also on IR.
Yep.
So that's a lot of people on IR currently that are supposed to come back. So we're approaching that. So hopefully we can avoid more injuries, but it's the NFL, doesn't necessarily happen.
It's football. Injuries are bound to happen. So the guy that I just mentioned, Jeff Wilson, we obviously now have a vacancy at running back position. Savon Ahmed was very serviceable for the first couple weeks before he sustained his injury, and that injury opened the door for Devon Achane to just go wild, lead the NFL in yards per touch out of the backfield, second in the NFL in rushing yards in general. So first among rookies, has 100 more rushing yards, give or take, than Bijan Robinson. And now his spot is going to be vacant for 4/5 weeks, physically 5 weeks, but game-wise 4 weeks. So Jeff Wilson, probably, again, not going to play this Sunday, but eventually he's going to come back and probably put on the Dolphins uniform again, when at one point we thought that was never going to happen. So what are you really expecting from Jeff Wilson? How much of an impact do you think he's going to have when he eventually comes back?
I don't think he's going to necessarily have much of an impact more than change of pace. Like I know when he came back, he was the de facto starting running back over Mostert, but we already know he can't catch a pass to save his life. He's coming off the finger injury. He's not really that good of a route runner. He's basically a between the tackles guy, and that's about it. And you know what? That's not necessarily a bad thing to have, but when you got guys that can do multiple things in this offense, which is kind of what they were looking for with Achane and what they were kind of doing with Ahmed early in the season, lining him up in the slot, having the motion out of the backfield. Jeff Wilson cannot do those things, and even if he can, I don't trust him to do it. I just don't. So, I still think that he's going to be traded. I am fairly. He had to come off IR to be traded. He had to. So, I believe that when Achane comes back or close to the trade deadline, he ends up being traded or cut. We're going to have to eat some of that money. It is what it is. But I'm happy with the running backs that we have. I truly, truly am. I don't like even with Achan out, I'm happy with Mostert. I think Ahmed and Brooks are good backups to have. I really like Brooks. I think he's kind of like low key, like a really good like change of pace kind of like. I think he's probably gonna end up being better than Jeff Wilson. Like that's like I think right now, obviously Jeff Wilson's a little bit better of a runner, but I think he's already a better pass catcher, probably a better blocker. So they're already using that tight end role to block last week. So I mean, we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, he's not going to Jeff Wilson being. He's not at all going to look like Achan. Like you're not getting a one for one replacement. You're losing a lot of speed, but what you are gaining is that strength that Achan doesn't have as much. That upper body weight. And last year when he came in, that Texans game looked pretty bad because he got the opportunity to be the sole back when Raheem Mostert went down. But 4.7 yards per carry, about 400 yards to when he came over from the 49ers. I'm not as pessimistic as you are when it comes to him. Now that it's a need, I believe that that need will be filled. And with Achan going down, I don't think that it's going to be a trade that happens. The trade deadline is on Halloween. It's October 31st. So Achan will not be back by then. And I think this team is just very serious about getting this divisional crown. If you can go out and flip him for a player, I don't think we're going out and making a move trading him for a pick. I don't think we're going to go try to get a 4th round pick unless we can then take that pick and flip him for a player. Unless you can go get another secondary piece. If you can get, this never happens, but you can go get an offensive lineman. You can get something on the team, go get a tight end. Like if you can get a position on the team that is currently a need. Otherwise, with Achan's injury, I think he's sticking around, and I'm not excited about that, but I do think he's gonna be sticking around. And then we have one more guy that recently has joined the team, and we didn't make a video about it last week, and we haven't really talked about it too much, but Chase Claypool might be a guy that we see make his Miami Dolphins debut on Sunday, and Twitter has had, fairly to say, their mixed opinions about Chase Claypool, and very reasonably so. He had a pretty good season at one point with the Steelers and has just been downhill ever since, and in a bad Chicago Bears team, had no impact, pissed off everybody, was traded away for virtually a stale bag of sour cream onion chips, and now he is a Dolphin. So we haven't really talked about it, but what was your initial reaction, and then what do you expect from him once he finally does hit the field?
I mean, with the injuries to Eric Ezukama, which that Craycraft and Eric Ezukama were the two guys I was thinking of about with also coming off IR. So that puts us at, I think, 7.
Right
but
there.
yeah. So out of 8, yeah, that's 7. But with that, with those injuries, I was like, okay, we're gonna need to add another receiver, even though we signed Robbie to the 53. It's gonna be like, okay. I don't really think Robbie's going to do that good. He's barely on the field. I think we need a bigger body out there. So I wasn't necessarily surprised by it, but I was kind of like, oh, that's interesting. Because we know he has the talent. It's all the mentals. So if he can get his attitude right, if he can get his head in the game and actually play like he wants to play, then he could be very good, and this possibly could be the best trio of receivers in the NFL if he gets his head right. And you can't deny that. I know it's laughable, but it all depends. It all depends on his attitude and how he approaches how he's gonna play. Now, he was throwing a fit because he didn't get the ball in Chicago. He was throwing a fit because he didn't like the scheme. He was throwing a fit in with the Steelers as well. So how is he going to work out down here where he's probably the 6th or 7th option at best?
I have a hard time taking you serious when you say Chase Claypool is part of the best wide receiver trio in the NFL. But it's because
he has the ability.
And because of how good Tyreek Hill is and Jalen Waddle, even if Jalen Waddle, we haven't seen a lot from him so far this year, a lot of it is because of those guys, and then you just plug in the third guy. Like if you could make that argument for River Craycraft. You could make that argument for Braxton Berrios. I think Braxton Berrios has been our third best receiver so far.
So far he has, but if you think about the best trio in the NFL, you think of Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins, Jamar Chase.
Which it is. It is.
It 100% it is. I think the second one is probably KJ Osborne, Jordan Addison, and Justin Jefferson.
Okay, no. no. Absolutely not. Not going there. No.
Oh, okay. No. Whatever. But anyways, I think that trio, he's going to start going to church here.
He better. Hey, it helps.
So I did miss part of his press conference today. Chase Claypool, he did talk a little bit about, how he needs to change the way he's approaching the game.
You think?
So
I could figure that out, buddy.
Well, no, it's kind of like a no shit Sherlock kind of thing.
But at least he's saying the right things.
It's good. At least he's saying the right things. Yeah. And now that he said it, I want you to not only to talk the talk, I want you to walk the walk, and continue what you're saying.
Yeah, look, at one point, he was a capable receiver. At one point, his best season was, unfortunately, his rookie season. And there's a bunch of guys, Preston Williams just easily comes to mind, especially since we saw him so recently. Like, had such a great rookie season. Very different circumstances, though. Claypool, much higher draft pick than we saw with Preston. Great rookie season. Or not necessarily great, but rookie season that left you feeling that he could step up and play a bigger role and be a serious receiver for the team and in the league. That rookie year, 873 yards, 9 touchdowns, was targeted 109 times. Like, that's pretty serious. That he also had 2 rushing touchdowns, so he had double-digit touchdowns in his rookie season. That leads you to believe he could then grow from that and be a very good receiver in the NFL, a very good receiver for the team, and that has just simply not been the case, whether it's been his fault, whether it's been the coaching staff's fault, whether it's been his mentality, whether it's been a combination of everything above. It is just the reality of the situation. I mean, you go from that to last year, 140 yards with Chicago, 311 with Pittsburgh. That's just a shade over 300 or 450 yards on the season, 1 total touchdown. He did get in the end zone somehow this year. Didn't even know that happened. But like it's entirely his responsibility. It is completely up to him how his time as a Dolphin goes. He can have a great time. He can end up being the wide receiver 3. He can end up having a serious role on this team and then go on, play somewhere else, and earn a lot of money and have a serious role in the NFL. Or he can pout on the sidelines because he's not getting to the game as much. He's not getting targeted as much, even though the team's winning. It's all on him. But from the Dolphins' perspective, such a low-risk investment. It's kind of like that offensive lineman we got from the Titans last year that had played 4 snaps in the NFL previously. Give up a 7.
It wasn't last year, but I know you're talking about.
2 years ago, whenever it was, you trade for him. Does he work out? No. Okay, bye. I mean, I don't even think we ended up losing a pick, but like even if we did lose that pick, it was a 7th-round pick. Who cares? We swap picks. We're probably going to move back like 20-something picks in the late round. Oh well. Who cares? Like, if he doesn't work, and that's 2 years from now. Hopefully they have a Super Bowl by then. Maybe he wins us a Super Bowl. Who knows? If it doesn't work, who cares? If he's a locker room cancer, bye. Like, they're not going to play around with this. It's not like you drafted him with a high draft pick, so you're going to give him an extended leash. We've seen his negative side. We've seen who he can be, and we've seen him show himself. And now it's on him to find a way for this team. I do have to go in about 20 minutes, and I think it's appropriate time to get to the actual preview. A question I see in here is Chris Brooks going to get more playing time at fullback against Panthers? Probably. With running back injuries and fullback injuries, yeah, he's probably. I think it's safe to say he's be more involved. But with that Panthers game, it's the back-to-back games. First the Giants, and now the Panthers game. That we have 2 games that we're going into. Like, okay, how much are we going to win this game by? Like, we're sitting down in our seats. We're not expecting a shootout. We're not expecting a fireworks show. Maybe on offense by the Dolphins in the first half until Tua gets benched eventually because we're up by so much. This is a game that we are expected to just get through, and then we have the big one on Sunday. And it kind of sucks to have that mentality. You want to go into a game just with a little bit of fear. But the Panthers team, they're young. There's not a lot of experience. Frank Reich's first year there. They have an experienced head coach that you feel good about. But is there anything about this Panthers team that you can sit and look at objectively and say, this could give us an issue on Sunday?
No.
Fair enough.
It's just I'm looking at the offensive side of the ball. I'm like, okay, rookie quarterback, he's gonna make mistakes. Like, obviously, he's gonna take some advantage of the holes on our defense, and put up some points. But on the defensive side, they have some good pieces. They have Brian Burns. They have
who is also hurt.
Is J.C. Horn back, or is he still hurt?
I mean, when I went through the Dolphins injury report, when you were talking, I don't know if y'all caught on, like I grimaced. I looked at their injury report. Justin Houston, Miles Sanders, Xavier Woods, Adam Thielen. I'm just naming the good players. Justin Houston, Miles Sanders, Adam Thielen, Xavier Woods, Dante Jackson, Brian Burns, Derek Brown. Like, serious players on this team are beat up.
I think J.C. Horn is either.
I don't think he's back.
I think he's on IR.
Yeah, I don't think J.C. Horn is back. I'm looking that up right now. I don't know how to spell J.C., but
it's Jayce. I don't think there's a Y.
I don't think he's back. I'm gonna safely say that.
Okay, so I don't think he's back. So like they're down their best corner. Like
they're down many players that are at the very least hurt right now.
I almost don't do that, Liz.
Oh, hi, Liz.
Hi. Hey, but she found out how to get on her phone. So that's
no,
good.
I think what happened here is she just got home and like she was rushing home because I texted her saying we were going live early, and now she's on her laptop.
Oh my god.
Computer. Yeah. Talking about how the Panthers are bad. Nothing on this. Adam Thielen's like the only thing in his. Yeah. He's not injured. He's on the injury report because he didn't practice due to rest. Justin Houston, same thing, due to rest. But the rest of those guys are all beat up one way or another.
Yeah. So there's nothing really too concerning because like I said, they have some good pieces, but they haven't put it together yet.
No.
And plus on top of that, they're beat up. So I don't see them slowing down our offense. And so when they're slowing down they can't slow down our offense, then their offense becomes one-dimensional, and then our defense eventually eats. Yeah.
Bryce Young he's coming off of his best game as a pro. Now, he's had a bunch of turnovers. He's not had a lot of time to sit back in a pocket. But last week against a Lions defense specifically that I think is much improved from last year, 25 of 47, 247 yards, 61% completion percentage. He found the end zone 3 separate times, which was more than he had found the end zone previously up to that point. 2 interceptions. It was only sacked 1 time. So we are seeing him start to put some things together, and the defense has not been what we want it to be. Obviously, the 1-star cornerback that is playing hasn't been playing up to par. The one that is missing. Jalen Ramsey, still waiting for him to come back. Reports are saying it's looking good, so fingers crossed on that one.
He was running in the tunnel last week, so there's that.
So fingers crossed on that end. But I could see a game, especially if that connection with Adam Thielen gets going early, that in Miles Sanders is a little healthier, that the Panthers are getting closer to winning a game. Like, as far as I can tell off the top of my head, I'm going to pull this up now. They haven't gotten blown out. Like the game they played last week, which was Bryce Young's best game, was the biggest differential. Week 1, 14 points, then 3 points, then 10 points, then 8 points, and then last week, 18 points. Like, they're not getting blown out. This is clearly a team that is in its development stages with a young quarterback, with a young core that they're trying to elevate. You're talking Bryce Young. You're talking Jonathan Mingo that he hasn't been able to establish connection with yet. The connection that he does have with an older piece, Adam Thielen, he's on pace to have his best season as a pro. So there are this team is winless, and we played a team last week with the Giants that had won a game. I like this team so much better than I like that Giants team. Even though they've lost every single game, I feel like they're going in a much more positive direction, and they could pose some threats. Again, I don't really think that it's gonna pose much of a risk in terms of winning the game, but I do feel good about them. Finally eventually starting the running game with Miles Sanders getting healthy. Finally seeing Bryce Young take command of this offense. There are things about this team I do like.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. And it's just like you said, there's things that you do like, there's things that you don't like. So who do you think X Factor wise is going to be the main X Factor on the Panthers?
It has to be. It also has to be, but Miles Sanders, because he has not shown up at all this year. He was, one of their big free agent acquisitions coming over from the Eagles, and the biggest assumption when it came to Miles Sanders was, okay, now that he's away from Jalen Hurts, now that he's with a more pocket passer quarterback, that he's going to have a lot more opportunity to shine, and he's going to be a better running back than we ever seen. And it's just quite simply not been the case. Week 1, 72 yards was his best rushing output. You go 72, 43, 24, 19, 32. And then in recent weeks, the injury has been affecting him. He's still on the injury report, so he's not going to be 100%. You're not going to see the best out of Miles Sanders, but we know this Dolphins defense is susceptible to letting up some runs. Didn't see it last week from the Giants, but I mean, I didn't even know that running back existed. Eric Gray, or whatever his name was. I didn't even know he existed.
It is Eric Gray.
Until you pointed out, like you said, like off the cuff, like, oh yeah, it's Eric Gray. I'm like, my brother in Christ, who? Like, we know, I knew Matt Breida wasn't going to play as much because the NFL is realizing that Matt Breida is just quite simply not good at football. So their rushing attack didn't have any teeth because their offense doesn't have any teeth. They looked better with Tyrod Taylor than they did with Daniel Jones. But with this Carolina Panthers team, with a running back that, even if he hasn't performed up to the level that it is, he eventually probably will come around. And he has a pretty lengthy contract, so as far as I can tell, I think it's 3 or 4 years, if I remember, my memory serves correctly. So he's going to have opportunity to go out there, and they're going to want him to succeed. So he's going to keep getting these opportunities. And they have Chuba Hubbard behind him, who has had his moments. How about you? Who do you think will be for the Panthers?
I think it's going to be Jonathan Mingo. He hasn't really had, like you pointed out, that strong connection with Bryce Young, but I do think that with their defense not being able to stop our offense, that they're going to have to rely on the pass a lot more. And I do foresee Vic Fangio probably scheming something up to have Adam Thielen taken away. With this defense, I don't see us taking anyone really away right now, completely. So limiting Adam Thielen, so I think that's going to have to open the window up for Mingo. He's a rookie. He had a couple of good games. I think the 2 best games he had were when Dalton came in and he threw the ball a lot more and trusted Mingo a little bit more. So I think Mingo's kind of be that X factor for them to be able to get the yards that they need and really kind of prove to Bryce Young that he can trust him too.
How about our end? Offense, defense, both, either or. Any names come to mind that you're excited to see on Sunday?
Excited or X factor?
Whatever.
I'm gonna go ahead and X factor. Gonna be the pass rush between. It's gonna be Chubb. Can Chubb get to the backfield? Can he not look slow for once and actually get to the quarterback? It's gonna be a thing. If I had to name another one, just because I'm gonna go X Factor 1A and 1B, Jerome Baker. Can we see him actually play decently in the run game for once? Like, please.
I like to see Eli Apple have a good game.
Oh my God! I don't want to see that man on the field. Why is he?
But we know he is.
Cam
Okay,
Smith still?
There's we know whether it's just because how Vic Fangio runs his defense, he doesn't trust a lot of younger guys. Whatever the reasoning is, we know Eli Apple is going to be on the field. I want Eli Apple so badly to have a good game. Like, it's so easy to sit back as Dolphins fans, as football fans. It's so easy, so easy to sit back and make fun of him or point out what he's doing wrong. If he has a good game, even if the rest of the defense still has some of their struggles, like, I'd feel so good if that was the case.
He's probably the slowest player on this defense. That's including Bradley Chubb. I don't think there's anyone slower.
It's that initial
Dude,
burst that is just completely missing.
if someone runs a comeback route on him, he literally sits back and then won't attack the ball, won't attack the receiver to try to get a pass breakup. He just goes for the tackle and like, okay, you're gonna have your 8 yard gain. I'm gonna give you your 8 yard gain. Like, oh my god.
I
Like,
think
bro, go for the ball.
I think the best way to put it is it's like everybody else is playing on grass and he's playing on turf. And like his cleats are getting stuck on the turf whenever he goes to make a move. It's like that foot just takes an extra second longer to come off the ground. But I still want him to succeed. Like anybody who puts on that aqua and white, like I want him to have a good game, even though he's probably not going to.
Horrible.
Offense. Jeez. Well, okay. On offense, this is not an X factor, but just intrigued to see. Chase Claypool. We'll see what his availability is. I have no idea, but and obviously I do. Like I just said, I hope Chase Claypool comes in and has success. But Cedric Wilson got, I think, 5 catches. Was it 4 or 5 catches last week? It was either 5 catches for 40 yards, 4 catches for 50 yards, whichever it was, something in that realm. But we saw him more involved in another guy, kind of similar to Emmanuel Ogbah, kind of similar to Jeff Wilson, that we're like, I'm surprised you're even here. So he's having an impact due to Craycraft being down, as a combo coming down. He is, our tallest wide receiver. And like we were joking about how Raheem Mostert's our tallest receiver just because Cedric Wilson doesn't play. And then Cedric Wilson go ahead and plays. So I'd like to see what his role ends up being, because while I think Braxton Berrios is our wide receiver 3, he's obviously our slot guy, and so he's going to be on the field more than Cedric is going to be. We need that third outside guy, somebody, because we were sitting there, you sat with me for the last game, and we see both Waddle and Tyreek go off the field. Like, okay, this is a run play, one way or another. Even like they're okay with taking those guys off the field and telling the defense that it's a run play, because the defense doesn't know how the run's going to come. Is it going to be an outside run to the right, outside run to the left? Is it going to be 8-chain coming on an end around to the left? Like, is it going to be a fake to the end around one way run? Like, because of how dynamic our rushing attack is, they don't care that they're diagnosing, they're just telegraphing, hey, this is a running play, but what are you going to do to stop it? But if we could then have that same personnel out there, where it's Cedric Wilson, it's now Chase Claypool, it's Robert Anderson, it's one of those guys out there, and you could actually rely on them to run the passing game appropriately, I'd like to see one of those other guys finally start to step up a little bit. So I'm going to go with Cedric Wilson. Like I said, I do have to be leaving very soon, so score predictions, go.
Well, let me give my X factor for offense. I'm gonna go ahead. It's gonna be real quick.
Yeah, make it quick, because time's a ticking.
Oh, you took like 10 minutes on yours, so I'm gonna take like 2 minutes on mine. It's gonna be really simple. Savon Ahmed with Achane down. He's now the de facto backup running back, the change of pace guy. Now we did see him play a lot in the first 2 games before he suffered that groin injury, and he looked good. He looked decisive. He looked quick. He was hitting the holes right. He is basically like a slower Devon Achane. So it's going to be cool to see how he's going to be used. It's going to be interesting to see how well he plays. See if they're able to keep Jeff Wilson off the field. If he doesn't play well, he's going to end up being RB4 on this team, possibly RB5 behind Chris Brooks. So this is going to be really his game to lose. That's my X factor for on offense. And score prediction. This is going to be an interesting one. You're going to like this one. 42-27.
So last week, I predicted 59-10. I said Tua was going to be out of the game beginning of the third quarter. That didn't happen. I mean, it was still a comfortable win, but didn't get in the end zone as much as we thought we would. Tua had that interception on the goal line. Had that interception when we had just begun to drive. So those couple turnovers, instead of getting points, we only punted the ball like once or twice. But those punts combined with those turnovers end up making the score not as big as it could have been, even though the Patriots would kill to score above 30 points. We're looking at scoring 30 points like we could have had more, which is a wonderful position to be in. So, with that being in mind, Achane missing the game, I think, is definitely going to affect the offense. So, I'm not going to go with 59-10 like I did last week. I'm going to go more in the reasonable realm. It's a well-coached team. It's a team that, even though they're losing, I feel like they're getting a little bit better each week. I'm going to go with 31-13 with a Dolphins victory. I feel pretty comfortable with that.
Okay. Like I said, I was giving them, 27 points and us 42. So
Yeah.
42-27. That's still, very similar differences in our scores. I think mine was closer slightly, but I think a 15-point difference versus I think yours was like 20.
Uh, Mine was 18, which is what they lost by last week, 31-13. But question for you. So with our friends, we have a weekly pick'ems where we do every single game, and in case there's a tie, our tiebreaker is the Monday night score. Not what each team gets, not guessing the score, the total score combined. And most people say 41, 42, 43. If this game was our Monday night tiebreaker, are you really, really telling me that you would say 69 points?
Yes.
Oh boy. Really? When with your money on the line, you're putting 69?
My $5 on the line, yes, I'm saying 69.
Look, there's never a bad time to say 69. All right? 69 can always be welcome at any point. But
I don't disagree.
When your money is on the line and everybody else is picking 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, you're picking 69, it's kind of wild. Just saying. Coming from the guy
that said 56 for the last Monday night game, which was trash.
I maybe got a bit overzealous.
A little overzealous. Bro, I was thinking about saying in the 30s. Like, that's how...
Well, how was I supposed to know that Gino was going to get hurt? Like, come on.
The last Monday night game was the Raiders and Packers.
I didn't say 56. I did not say 56 for that one.
You definitely said, I think...
That was last week.
It was either 50, 52, 54, or 56. You had it up there, sir.
We can search this afterwards, but I'm pretty sure that was last week. But with that, like I said, I plan on leaving at 7:45, and this is the one thing that we're actually punctual at. I have my third podcast of the day that I have to do in about 15 minutes. So if you are interested in some FAU football content, go over to the FAU'sOwlsNest.com or go to their YouTube channel, FAU Owl's Nest on YouTube, and you can check out the preview that I did with two other wonderful gentlemen previewing the FAU Owls USF Bulls game up in Tampa. Did a preview for that, about 30 minutes. Pretty nice watch, pretty nice conversation we had. Usually we have a guest on the show. Today we did not get to have a USF representative with us, but what I'm going to go do is I'm going to go be on a USF podcast, or I think it's kind of... It's a Bay Area channel. It's called, let me bring up the Bay Area Examiner. I have no idea where you're going to be able to find this. I'm not sure if we're doing this live. I'm not sure if it's going to be pre-recorded and uploaded later. But yeah, it's going to be a lot of football talked about today. So thank you all very much for hanging out with us. Shout out to Raphael. Shout out to Liz. Shout out to Rodolfo. To Mighty Zane. To Quick Review, who decided he had to get a comment in. Quick Review is him, in case any of you guys couldn't put two and two together. But thank you all very much for joining today's show. If you missed anything during the show and you'd like to rewatch it, we will be uploading clips over the next few days up until the game. Donovan and I again will be at the game. So again, if you happen to see us, we have met one fan before. If you happen to see us, come up, say hi. We really appreciate it. But for now, we would really appreciate if you hit that subscribe button, getting closer to 1,000. If you know, you know. If you don't, you don't. Please hit that subscribe button. Hit that like button. Thank you all very